When you begin your preparation for civil services examination, you will come across a lot of aspirants who question the very selection process of the exam. They would say that the examination is so unpredictable, it's unreliable, and that a friend of theirs who was undeserving was able to make it to the services, whereas they were not able to do so, and so on. They would blame the CSAT paper, they would blame the objectivity of the interview process itself. Some would shift the blame onto the faculties, some would blame the academy where they had taken coaching. I'm not saying every aspirant who fails to crack civil service examination would do all this, but those who haven't really comprehended the reasons for their failure and those who cannot digest that they have failed in this process, they keep spreading all such fanciful opinions about the examination. For them, everything other than themselves are the reason to blame for their failure in civil service exam. And since their numbers are in plenty, it is such voices that constantly echo around you, discouraging you, whereas those who have made it are not even around you. They have already joined the service, and so that's why you don't find them being available around you to negate all these kind of wrong opinions about the examination. So this is the classic case of the fox calling the grapes sour because the grapes weren't within the reach of the fox. So that's why I felt I should convey my opinions about this exam so that you enter this competition with all your heart, you trust this process, and you give your 100% to this examination. A married life would be a real hell if every day you have to suspect the fidelity of your spouse, and that's the same case with the civil service exam as well. If you start believing all these market gossips that comes out of others' failures. In my opinion, I hold the selection process of UPSC in civil service examination in very high regard. I really cannot think of a better method of recruitment where diverse talent and skill sets are tested. Understand that every year there are 1,000 plus aspirants who make it despite whatever the odds are and whatever is the nature of this examination. See, ordinary Indians like you and I gaining entry into the top positions under the state, it's a very, very recent phenomenon. It should be happening only in the last 100 years. And before that, if you have to occupy a position in the government, whether it's in Germany or in England or in Japan, you need to be belonging to certain families. Even to gain entry into Indian civil services, that was a possibility only if you happen to be from the right families. You should have been from a family of zamindar, or you should have been from a princely family to gain entry into Indian civil services. So there were so many entry barriers that prevented ordinary Indians from dreaming big. And it's only today an aspirant from a very remote rural part of this country can aspire to hold power. So we should really be thankful to all the successive governments after independence. So by increasing the age limits, by increasing the number of attempts, and by increasing the total vacancies to be filled through civil service examination, and by providing a lot of flexibilities for all of us in terms of the language in which you can appear for your interview process, in terms of the language with which you can write your mains examination, all that has been liberalized. It's only by doing all this, today getting into such positions of power is very accessible to each one of us. So if you are doubting the integrity of this civil service exam, if you are constantly questioning the correctness of the selection process, you are basically indulging in a self-defeating behavior. So once you try to understand the intent of this examination, once you try to understand the background with which people who crack this examination actually come from, their socio-economic profiles, and if you can only compare civil service examination versus various other examinations, which can also give you a significant rise in your social position in the society, then you will be convinced about this examination, and it's only then you will be able to give your best in terms of preparation for this examination. So that's why I have this discussion in which I'll clarify everything about this examination process so that you enter into this examination preparation with all your heart, trusting this process. The notification of UPSC civil service examination, it says that the commission encourages diversity in the services. I would really attest to that. I would say it's very true simply by looking at my own batchmates in the IAS. So we were a group of 180 officers from every different socio-economic profile you can imagine. So I had batchmates who were sons of politicians. So some of them were daughters of IAS officers, and many of them, like we were from families where parents worked in government services. And then there were batchmates who were first graduates. In fact, I should say they were the first literates in their families. There was a son of a tea estate laborer. There was a daughter of a driver, and you name it. We were really a mixed group. So that's why I really feel There are very few avenues in today's India where there is something for everyone. To be honest, I would rate civil service exam even above other exams like CAT and GMAT when it comes to providing equal opportunity for everyone. And let me tell you why. So let's try to compare civil service exam with two other popular exams like CAT and GMAT, which are also exams that you take after you graduate. So just have a glance once into the profile of those who make it to the top three IIMs. You have the Ahmedabad, Bangalore, and the Calcutta campus. So look into the socio-economic profiles of those graduates, and I'm sure almost all of them are copy paste of each other in terms of their socio-economic upbringing. Maybe, of course, they are from different educational backgrounds, but all of them are very well-educated students in their school days, who have been sent to the top schools, who have been given the best tuitions, and who are very, very proficient in the usage of English. It's only such kind of people who make it to the top three IIMs. And in my opinion, this composition is not really reflective of the broader Indian society. You do not find any aspirant from a rural family who was a son of a carpenter or a painter making it to all these top three IIMs. There are just so many entry barriers with respect to exams like CAT, which you do not even know before you can put things right. It's only when you start preparing for CAT exam you get to even understand that if you do not perform well in your school days, if you have a CGPA of less than 8, you can simply forget about getting an entry into top 3 IIMs. The entry barrier to get into top 3 IIMs is such that without 8 CGPA and without having 90% plus in your school days in your 10th as well as in your 12th, you cannot even enter into this race. And I'm sure most of us would not even been aware that this entry barrier exists when we were in our school days. All of us would have dreamt one day that we would want to gain entry into these IIMs, but we just did not know these conditions even exist. And with respect to the other exam, GMAT exam, you should be very rich first of all to fund your education, because this is a course that you do abroad. And your English proficiency should also be extremely good. And unless you're from top colleges in India for your graduation, you will not be getting good recommendations by good faculties, and without these recommendations you will not even get an admission into institutions of good reputation abroad. So that is why I feel in terms of exams like CAT and GMAT, there is less power in your hand to undo things of your past. You cannot go back and rectify the scores that you have got during your school days. You cannot set it right. So, but with civil service examination, these things don't come into play at all. Your past academic performance doesn't matter even a tiny bit when it comes to cracking civil service examination. So that's why it's like all of you are put on the same platform. You might have been a topper in your schools, topper in your college, but another aspirant could be a very average student in terms of education in school and college. But all of you start from the same point. It's like the slate is rubbed clean. You're all asked to compete from point 0 onwards. In fact, for civil service examination, all you need to do is simply be a graduate, simply clear with a very minimal score of graduation and nothing else. In fact, there's a special feature about civil service examination where you do not even have had to step into a regular college. I have a batchmate who's presently an IAS officer in the Madhya Pradesh cadre, who had never been to a college because he was so poor that he cannot even afford a regular college education. It was only by subscribing to distance education from IGNOU he was able to sit for civil service exam. And I don't think a person from his humble origins would ever find a place in any of the top 3 IIMs. So that's why I strongly believe civil service examination is an egalitarian exam. It's for all of us. Now, addressing the next issue about the integrity of the selection process, let me give you a few examples. There are officers who are very powerful, who run the entire show of the central government. And such senior bureaucrats, they may have their children appearing for civil service examination and failing to crack it. So if they were influential enough, and I'm sure with the positions that they occupy, they are quite influential. So it's so easy for them to take their phone and give a call to any private companies and get and secure a very, very lucrative employment for their children. But such people are not able to get their sons or daughters gain an easy entry into the rank list of civil service examination. So this alone is a real testimony to how independent and how honest the selection process of civil service examination actually is. And if at all an IAS officer or IPS officer's son or daughter makes it to the rank list, I'm sure it's just because of their sheer capacity. It's nothing to do with their father's position or with their influence. While a cabinet secretary's son or daughter may not be able to crack this exam, the son or daughter of a peon working in a state government office in a very rural, remote part of this country will be able to crack it. Okay, the most influential politician's son or daughter may not be able to crack this exam, but the son or a daughter of a painter or a electrician, right, they may be able to crack this examination. So you don't need any more examples to prove that there is no undue influence, there is no arm twisting, there is no pulling the levers when it comes to influencing the outcomes of civil service examination. It's all about the best man wins, nothing else. It's all about what you do in the next 1 or 2 years of your preparation. Your past can be completely erased when you start preparing for this examination. It's all about how fast you grasp the different aspects of this examination, how efficient you are in terms of your preparation, and how well you can stick to a regular work ethic for the next 1 or 2 years, and how well you compare yourself against others and you make yourself better and better with every passing day. So these are the things that's going to decide the outcomes. And that's why you need to place your complete trust on this process and start preparing with a cheerful outlook. Have confidence on this exam process, and I'm sure the exam will reward you if you're sincere about it.